for another episode of the Tech Informist. Let's begin. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Kevin.
I'm Brad.
And on this episode, there's been a new NASA discovery.
UPS shows off drone delivery tests.
Apple devises a brilliant name for its fabled spaceship campus.
Your Samsung phone may soon be able to unlock your Windows PC.
AMD announces Ryzen and reveals 3 new CPU models.
Remix OS for mobile aims to work like Continuum.
Fitbit paid just $23 million for Pebble.
Trump is a domain squatter.
And a whole bunch of Tesla news. Again, everybody, NASA. Big week for NASA and revealing a whole lot of information that, hey, there might be other habitable planets out there similar to our very own Earth. And this news came out, Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that? I can't remember the exact day.
Yeah, it was, and it was kind of like an afternoon stream.
Yes, and then they did I think like a Reddit AMA, Ask Me Anything. So this exoplanet system is called Trappist-1, and they've named it that for the Transiting Planets and Planetesimals Small Telescope in Chile. So that's where they get Trappist. It's like a big acronym. And in May of 2016, researchers using this Trappist scope announced that they had discovered 3 planets in the system. So what is really neat about this, and they found, 7, I think it was?
Yeah, so there are 7, relatively speaking, Earth-sized bodies of planets, 3 of which are in the hospitable zone, or the Goldilocks zone, as they like to call it.
Use Goldilocks. I like it.
Yeah, not too hot, not too cold, just right.
Just right.
And next, they're going to be looking at what their atmospheres are like. Or do they have water? Things like that, of that nature. The thing that's amazing is it's only 40 light years away. And I say only because in the grand scheme of things, that's not a lot. Now, in realistic terms, how many trillion miles was that?
Like 235.
Yeah, so 235 trillion miles from Earth.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
That's where these planets are. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with light year terms, light year refers to how many Earth years it would take for light to travel a certain distance. So it would take light from our sun 40 years to get to these planets at the speed of light, obviously.
Right.
So that's where that comes from.
So another perspective that I've heard this week is the fact that when we look at the sun, our very own sun up in the sky, you are seeing it 8 minutes in the past.
Yes.
What you were seeing happened 8 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they said with this, whenever this telescope saw these planets, this system, what it saw was 40 years ago.
Yep.
Not the light year, but this is just like 40
We're looking
years
40 years into the past when we look at these planets.
Right.
So in some ways, we're sort of time traveling.
In a way, yeah. You're like, ooh, I'm looking 40 years into the past.
Yeah, and the further back and the farther out you look, that's how things was 1 billion years ago and 5 billion years ago and so on and so on and so on.
Obviously, this is not something that we're going to be experiencing in our lifetime. I don't even believe they'll get anything launched within my lifetime. I'm coming up on the year 41 of my life. And they said this would take, even like with our fastest ship that we have currently available, something like 400 something years to get there. So it's not even like our grandchildren, great-grandchildren, stuff like that will see that. Obviously, we'll probably get to Mars well before we even consider.
And even Europa, which is one of Jupiter's moons that is all salt water under like an ice shell. And we think that it's, if there's liquid salt water underneath, there clearly has to be some sort of heat generating somewhere within that planet, so potentially there could be life under that ice sheet.
There could be some fish or some kind of amphibian.
Some weird kind of fish snake thing.
Which, depending on who you talk to, that may be what we've evolved from. Kind of like, what was it, some kind of amphibians where we kind of just gradually came out on the water and got up on our two legs, and now we walk and talk and do all this.
We're as related to dinosaurs as we are to birds, and that's not really a good comparison, but it's because they're kind of the same thing. But lizards and sharks and everything, I mean, when you look at all the DNA, we're really not that dissimilar. We're more similar than we are dissimilar, which is kind of amazing.
Yeah. So this was like really big news, and it was very impressive. It's got a lot of people talking, and it really makes me so excited to go see Neil deGrasse Tyson in a couple months.
Yes.
Because I guarantee he's going to be talking about this to a point.
I mean, if you're a fan of Neil deGrasse Tyson, Star Talk Radio, I'm sure this will pop up on there very, very soon.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, this is exciting. I heard this and I kind of was floored. I was like, oh my gosh, there's actually this other system and it's got these kind of features so far, and there's a lot of potential that can be discovered. And I think that's why I love the whole science-y thing. So, for instance, I love playing video games, right? But the games I really connect with are the ones I get to explore and discover things, like Minecraft, for instance.
Right.
And that's why I really like NASA, because I like to explore and discover all these new different possibilities that we didn't think was possible.
Right. It's all the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
What may be a planet one day, may not be a planet tomorrow. We never know.
Yep.
So to kind of put things in physical comparison, if you look at our sun as the size of a basketball, the Trappist 1 star, which would technically be their sun, would be the size of a golf ball. Again, approximates, because it's not like anybody's got a tape measure that they can truly get a really good idea.
It's just, conceptually, most of us know what a basketball size is and a golf ball size is.
Big
so
difference.
It's easier to see that than it would be to tell you, oh, it's this many miles across versus this many miles across.
Because you can't visually come up with that in your mind.
Yeah, and to kind of further put it in perspective, Jupiter is only a fourth the size of our sun, so Jupiter is actually bigger than this new sun they found, which is actually a red dwarf. And for those of us who know anything about dwarf suns, generally they tend to burn longer than, let's say, a sun our size or even bigger. So potentially this thing could be burning 3 times the length of our sun or more.
Right, and these planets are supposed to be extremely close to one another, so much so that whenever you will hear on the news or the weather that, hey, tonight's going to be a great night to look outside, and with the naked eye you can see the red dot of Mars.
Or the bright white dot of Venus.
Right. Obviously, you need a telescope to kind of see any
features.
Yeah, any features, any detail, any of the distinguishing characteristics. Jupiter's red dot, for example. You're not going to see that with the naked eye. You're still going to need a telescope, even if you can kind of see that in the sky. So it kind of reminds me a little bit of, Star Wars, when, Luke comes out of his house and he's looking out there and you're seeing all these different moons and okay. It would kind
we
of be
are on a different planet.
Yeah, it's totally different. So it'll be interesting just to kind of see what they're able to do within the next, hopefully I live another 40, 50 years. So maybe something will develop. 50 years can be a long time. Obviously not that
look
long.
At 50 years ago with space travel. Mm-hmm. Look how far we've come now. So
yeah. Now we can't even get back to the moon in 2017, but we could do it 50 years ago.
Yeah, I think that is about to change pretty fast, especially with private space companies like SpaceX.
Mm-hmm.
So
that are wanting to do all this other stuff and not all this government funding and all that. So it's really, really neat stuff, and looking forward to kind of keeping up with this as time moves on. Drones, and more drones. This week, UPS showed off a delivery truck that can launch a drone. So this first residential drone delivery was reportedly completed this past Monday. And in the video, it shows kind of like out in what looks like farmland, really. It's kind of a very
remote kind of compared
area.
to a city, a nice dense city.
So it, like, pulls up next to the mailbox, and then there's this, like, door in the top, and all of a sudden the drone takes off with the little package in it, flies over, drops it down, and then just returns back to the truck. And they say that by doing this, it can kind of help save all sorts of miles on the UPS truck fleet, which in turn saves gas. And UPS, I believe, can save up to $50 million a year. It says by cutting a mile off every driver's route each day.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
You know, I was thinking, why would they do this? It just seemed kind of weird and strange. I mean, obviously, Amazon has been testing these things, but now it starts to make sense. Mm-hmm. When you can just kind of snip off just a little bit here and there, and every day it just starts to add up. Mm-hmm. So,
and this is actually kind of neat because if a driver has multiple deliveries to make in a very small radius, small area, the truck can kind of like park one spot. The driver can load up a package and say, okay, go fly to there, and then just kind of like drive off 5 houses down the street to make another delivery, and from a smartphone or tablet or something, call the drone back to the truck. So by the time the driver's done making that delivery, the drone is back. And then he can kind of just... So in a way, it kind of optimizes time and stuff like that.
Definitely.
In a way. So I like the fact that this is not used to entirely replace the driver workforce. It is kind of meant as an accessory to kind of help optimize their time.
And it's hard to say, you know, who knows, 50 years from now, perhaps we don't need a driver per se. Perhaps that driver now just looks after the drones and keeps them up to tip-top shape.
And make sure the packages don't get stolen out of the back of the truck.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, one of these drones is not going to be able to deliver a 60-inch television.
No.
It's
not with our current technology.
I mean, there's like a weight limit of up to 10 pounds, and these drones can reportedly fly for up to 30 minutes.
Although, with that new wallpaper TV from LG, it might only weigh 10 pounds.
That's true.
So, I don't know.
There is that. Yeah, TVs can be changing weight-wise, but your standard 60-inch TV is not going to be dropped off by one of these drones anytime soon. But I still think this is all kind of interesting and another neat use for this. And obviously, UPS gets this going. We know Amazon's been working on this kind of stuff for a while.
FedEx will be hot on their heels. Guarantee it. It's like anytime Verizon announces something, AT&T is hot on their heels, and vice versa. So
right, because they all have to try to stay competitive in the market. Obviously, DHL used to be not really a big player in the package delivery service here in the St. Louis area, but you rarely see a DHL truck anymore. In
St. Louis, definitely. On the coast, I'd say that's a lot different.
Yeah. I mean, they tried coming into St. Louis, and it just did not work whatsoever. And I didn't really ever have great experiences with them, with the variety of little things, with package delivery. So that don't bother me that I don't have to worry about seeing them around here anymore. Obviously, a lot of stuff boils down to the FAA requiring drones to remain within the operator's line of sight. So it means they can't yet depart from a truck all that far. Again, you know.
And I think as, you know, robotics get better, as GPS signals and things like that get better, and the technologies get better for the drones, that those rules could change. Just like with how, you know, self-driving cars work right now. So we finally have a new name for Apple's big spaceship campus. It is called...
Transformer Space Bridge.
No.
Okay.
It is called Apple Park. Now, you would think that they could have had some better names, which actually are listed here on Gizmodo's website, like Apple Core, Apple Orchard, Apple iPad, iCampus, Campus OS, iWork HQ, Apple Spaceship Pro, or Infinite Loop 2.0. I kind of like some of those, especially the Apple Core.
I know. I think Apple Core sounds really cool.
And they're doing it kind of for laughs. But in all seriousness, The actual ginormous campus has a name, and it's Apple Park, and that's where they will be presumably showing off the new iPhones later this year.
Right. iPhones, AR stuff. Who knows what they're going to show off, but
all kinds of fancy doodads.
Yeah. So far, I guess this has taken, 6 years to build, to construct.
Wow, has it been that long already?
According to this article, it says nearly 6 years of toil.
175 acres, 12,000 employees.
That is a lot of property.
That is. Well, when you're the richest company in the world, you can do things like this.
Yeah.
But, not too much to say here, just that it has a name and it's well on its way to being done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One other quick little Apple thing, I believe, just the other day was Steve Jobs' birthday. I think he would have been like 62 or something like that.
Dang.
Yeah. Well, at least I want to say that that's what I saw. Because everybody always seems to focus on the day that he died, not necessarily, it would have been his birthday.
Right.
Stuff like that. Anyway, Apple Park. I don't know.
Is that like Jurassic Park?
Oh, we'll find out. We'll find out what happens if you ever get a chance to go there. It'd be kind of neat to go there and take a tour.
When Disneyland opened, the pirates didn't eat the tourists.
Love it. So we mentioned a little while ago that your Samsung Galaxy phone fingerprint reader will soon let you unlock your Windows 10 PC. That kind of sounds interesting because once you factor in, Samsung, Android, you would imagine that could kind of work on a Chromebook or something that's running Chrome OS.
Especially something made by Samsung.
Exactly. But hey, it looks like apparently they are going to make this work, and Samsung supposedly already allows us with its Galaxy Tab Pro S through the Samsung Flow app for Windows 10.
That makes sense.
But as Sam Mobile reports, Samsung has now confirmed that the feature will support all Windows 10 PCs soon.
See, this is smart because they're getting in at that bottom level to make this a thing. I would say in the next couple of years, this will be a standard across all Android devices because when you think mobile right now, you either have iOS or Android. That's just the truth. No sugarcoating it. Yeah, we talked about that last week. And when you think about computers, typically you think either a Mac or a PC. Chromebooks are there, but typically, we don't really think of grouping them the same way.
Yeah, it's not a traditional
production device.
Production gaming machine.
Right. So I can absolutely see why Samsung is trying to stay ahead of the curve and implement this as soon as possible because, again, get in on the ground level and everybody's like, the Samsung phone does it, so shouldn't all the phones do it?
Yeah, you would kind of think, and with more and more manufacturers releasing phones with fingerprint readers and iris scanners and stuff like that, there's no reason kind of not to. I mean, obviously with devices being within proximity, sometimes that helps just automatically unlock your device if your phone is nearby, recognizes like a trusted device.
Or if you walk away, it'll lock your Mac or your PC or whatever
Right, automatically. Hey, it's within, or it's beyond a 10-foot radius or 20-foot radius, whatever. You can set certain things to. I think it would be kind of neat. I don't know if it's really something that I would use. I don't know if, I lift the lid on my laptop and it asks for a password. I'm then going to pick up my phone to use a fingerprint to unlock my computer when my hands are already there at the keyboard. It's like,
you also have to factor in a lot of new Ultrabooks are coming with fingerprint readers. I don't know. There's that too.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the new MacBook Pros have the little touch bar at the top, and all you got to do is stick your finger on there and boop, unlocks your computer. That, to me, makes more sense than being able to pick up my phone. It's like another additional step that I don't personally want to worry about.
I would say this would work best in a scenario where you have an older PC that does not have access to a fingerprint scanner of any kind or biometrics of any kind.
We'll have to find out. I mean, I don't have a Samsung phone personally, but it might be something whenever this does come out,
maybe call up our friends from Verizon and have them
send us some test devices. Well, my wife's got a S7 active, so I could always try it with that, just to kind of see. Resourceful chaps are we. So, Remix OS. This comes from 9 to 5 Google, and we might remember Remix OS is one of the companies that I first seen back at CES 2015, where they made basically a Surface Pro clone, but it was running a version of Android, because these are ex-Google engineers that have created kind of like this whole company of making some devices, but primarily I think they have shifted their focus to the Remix OS, which again is still a version of Android, but this story is Remix OS for mobile. It's going to be able to turn your Android smartphone into a dockable PC a la Continuum, which we've kind of already been used to for just a little over a year now, I think, with the Lumia 950, 950 XL, so Microsoft doing all that stuff with Windows 10. Plug it into the Continuum dock, and hey, your phone is your PC.
Funny how Windows Phone always, oh yeah, we'll do that first, but nobody cares or realizes it's a thing, and then this comes out a year or two later, and it's always, oh look, my phone can wireless charge. It's like, my phone can do that 2 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, cool, look at this. I've got an iris scanner. I can unlock my phone just looking at my phone with my eye. Yeah, Microsoft was doing that a couple years ago, so it's pretty cool.
But it just goes to show how important Android is to people. I mean, this is inevitable. It really is. For Android to be able to do things like this, I mean, they have such powerful chips in them now. They're supposedly powerful enough to run Windows, which is why we'll possibly see demos of that later this year. But to dock your Android phone, where most of the people out in the world do a lot of their work anyway, that could be a game changer.
Right, because again, this is for people that do not need these high-powered production devices. You're not going to be editing video. You're not going to be really editing photos or really playing these high graphic-intensive games from your smartphone connected to just the keyboard, mouse, and monitor. But I think for the general public, in the business world that just deals with spreadsheets and has to deal with emails and some Skype calls and stuff like that.
Or shoot, even look at a situation where, let's say your parent, they don't do any heavy computing of any kind. They just look at Facebook and they read news articles. Right. You could get something like those Continuum docks where they connect wirelessly, and you can just use that as their laptop while only having the phone and only having to pay, because potentially the dock doesn't need to change ever. It could stay the same specs the whole time. It's the phone that changes with you. So it's kind of like when we were talking about the TVs, how they're sort of modular, and they so.
I'm really kind of surprised that this is not a basic feature of Android and iOS yet.
I'm very surprised, actually.
Because, I mean, for me, a lot of times it would be nice to just be able to not worry about a laptop and just take my phone and plug it in, and there, I've got all the stuff that I need to do. I can browse the web, I can get on social media, I can kind of do whatever, maybe even play some little mobile games, which would translate well to be able to play on a larger screen.
Wasn't it the Atrix that was the first device to kind of, you plug it in the back of the laptop thing and then it becomes a computer?
Yeah, I think that was I thought Asus did something like that.
Yeah.
Where you plug it into something and then it turned like a standard tablet into something more higher powered.
Right. So, I mean, conceivably, you would think in the next couple of years, this might be a standard for all devices. Maybe Apple kind of swings more towards that way because Android will be able to do that too. And if you have Windows Phone and Android being able to do it, well, you need iPhone to do it because there are a lot of business customers with iPhones. So
yeah. So with this, the main company for Remix OS is called Jide, Jide, and I mean, it's going to be kind of a challenged to do this because obviously, you can't just load random stuff on your smartphone to be able to do this. And how this is going to work kind of still remains to be seen, because right now, using this Remix Singularity is what they're kind of calling this. It's going to be compatible with the Nexus 5X and the 6P in the promo video that you can look at and we will link to. And it's also likely that it's going to be able to work with things like the Pixel C and the Nexus 9. I just don't know. It's not like the average user is going to be able to do this. I think the majority of people that are listening to this podcast are going to be able to work their way through to be able to install this on their device if it's going to be something that is announced as compatible.
Yeah, and those are the people you want using those products first, or the
squash the bugs to make sure the functionality works and the use case is good enough. But I still think it would be something that would be nice, and I'd love to see Samsungs and HTCs and LGs and Apple just do this. I mean, give people the option to just drop your phone in there. Obviously, Apple makes docking stations. They've got little docks and stuff to charge your phone. And do that and just run through the little lightning port and plug in use a Bluetooth keyboard, Bluetooth mouse, whatever, if you want to do that. Or just use the Magic Trackpad.
I wonder if that lightning port offers the amount of bandwidth you would need to output all of that information.
Well, if you can hook up a dongle to charge and still have headphones
that's
attached,
true.
That's some pretty good bandwidth.
Yeah.
To be able to just control mouse and keyboard responses, I don't see why it'd be a problem.
I just really want them to make a USB-C iPhone.
Yeah, that would be nice. That
one can
would
dream.
Really be nice, yeah. And just real quick, speaking about USB Type-C, it appears that either the cord or the little charging block that came with my Nexus 6P may have went bad, because yesterday morning when I got up, kind of going through some stuff, and I'm like, why is it at 15%? It was plugged in all night.
By going bad, do you mean a cat chewing on it?
No
That's usually
marks, no nothing.
It's usually on my end.
So then after I got in my car, I plugged in the one that I've got that I keep in the car, and it started charging. So I was glad that it was nothing wrong with the phone physical port. That, okay, it's just a cable or a little blip or the little brick. So I guess either I need to get a new Type-C to Type-C, because it's the one that came with the 6P, so it's Type-C on both ends. It's not like USB on one end and Type-C on the other.
Well, iOrange and Anchor make some fantastic products.
Yes, they do, which that's why I've got an Anchor cable is what I keep in my car, just in case I'm using my 6P as my daily, which that's not anytime soon. So anyway, that's just kind of an update for me on that. It's really the first time I've ever personally had a charger or a cable go bad. My wife and son, they've gone through numerous ones. I don't know what it is.
Our cords don't go bad. Our cat chews through them.
Sticking real quick on PC stuff, Brad, you've got a story in here about AMD.
Yeah, so AMD announced their new Ryzen chips, which are supposedly supposed to be more powerful than the i7 Kaby Lake processors, the 7th gen. And that's kind of impressive, especially since Intel isn't exactly innovating right now. They're sort of stuck at that magical, the 12 or 14 nanometer chips, or nanometer. That's actually what these Ryzen chips are based on, is the 14 nanometer chipset, which we know every time you shrink the die set, they get more efficient, they get better, everything about the chip gets better when you shrink the die size. The fact that they could compete / even be a little bit better than Intel's chips is kind of interesting, because typically AMD is cheaper than Intel 9 times out of 10, right?
More bang for your buck is the way I've always looked at AMD chips.
Yeah, and in the past, it's not really something I would personally look at. I've always been more of an Intel guy. However, with technologies changing and things getting better, I mean, when I rebuild my PC, maybe I'll give this a look. There's not too much to say here other than, for instance, the Core i7 6900K is about $1,000, whereas the 1800X from AMD Ryzen is going to be $499.
Right, so half price for better performance.
Mm-hmm.
Where do I sign up?
Yep, exactly. You'll see more motherboards supporting this, especially if they are as good as they say they are, and they work as well as we hope them to work as. So,
yeah, I think this is really neat. I mean, obviously, whenever you compare that Core i7 6900K to the Ryzen 1800X, it's kind of a very negligible advantage in AMD's favor, like a 9% performance boost in Cinebench R15 NT.
9% on a chip is pretty good, though. Mm-hmm. Because usually when they jump, when they went from Skylake to Kaby Lake, it's always like, 17% increase. And that's actually changing the structure of the chip versus here's Intel's version, here's AMD's version. 9% jump, and it's even better. I mean, I don't know.
Pre-orders are live. You can start seeing chips on March the 2nd. Brief bit of news about how much Fitbit actually paid to acquire Pebble's assets. I think there was a lot of speculation back when Fitbit took on Pebble. They kind of just said, all right, we're just going to buy you. We're going to acquire your assets. They actually spent just $23 million, which...
That's not a lot for tech, really.
No, and Pebble actually, back in 2015, their Kickstarter brought in $20.3 million, so not too bad. I think Fitbit got a pretty good deal on that with everything that Pebble has done and the popularity of their smartwatches. I think it was not too bad. I think a lot of people thought that they had spent closer to $40 million. So seeing it just be, and here we are just saying, just $23 million.
Right. I mean, that's life-changing for some people.
Yeah.
But for an entire company, that's not a terrible...
Right. It's a drop in the bucket for companies like Fitbit that have some pretty good revenue going because they're pretty popular. There's one thing I do notice whenever people are wearing things on the wrist, I kind of glance just to see what it is they're wearing. And more often than not, they're wearing a Fitbit of one various.
Yeah, if you're not wearing an Apple Watch, you're wearing a Fitbit. It's
typically, yeah.
Again, Android, iOS.
I don't see many like Samsung Gear smartwatches out there.
I don't either. And it's not that they don't stand out, or maybe it is. I don't know.
Could be. But no, I see a whole bunch of Fitbit Flexes because, the Flex is their cheapest option for people to get into the fitness tracking. But yeah, you see a lot more. I definitely see a lot more Apple Watches than I do Pebbles and even Gears and anything that comes from LG. Mm-hmm. So pretty much any Android Wear device, I don't see many.
No.
If at all. Mm-mm. Really. Like yesterday, we was recording a podcast and there were 3 Apple Watches in the room. So
shoot, I even noticed it was yesterday or the day before because everything's running together right now. But the person who was taking my order at a fast food restaurant, she had an Apple Watch. It's like, oh, wow. It's kind of everywhere.
Yeah. So they already bumped up to $15 an hour? Now she can afford that.
Yeah.
Speaking of politics, apparently Donald Trump has a number of domains that has been kind of brought into his online portfolio. So I guess you would kind of say he's a domain squatter in a way.
In some ways, though, you can't blame him because a lot of them are kind of terrible names, I think. And then others are just stuff that he doesn't want anyone getting a hold of. Like, for instance, trumpfraud.org or trumpscam.com. And if I were him, I would not want that out there.
Right. because obviously he's caught a lot of heat so far, and he's just been president for just a little over a month now since he took office.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so let's see. How many does he have total? Approximately, no. At least 3,643 website domains, according to internet records gathered by CNN Money.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, he's got people out there getting these and acquiring and stuff like that.
Yep.
I'm just curious who they use as the domain registrar. Are they GoDaddy? They use GoDaddy, or what other kind of domain company out there?
He's daddy of something, all right.
Oh, my. So he's got some that he's had for a long time ago, like TrumpOrganization.com, TrumpBuilding.org. Some of the more recent ones would be like TrumpEmpire.com that I believe he got not too long ago. I think it was during June of 2016. So he's only had that one for a few months because the person that originally had it, who is a civil engineer in Guadalajara, Mexico, bought it back in April 2015. He ended up just choosing not to renew it, so Trump Organization snapped it up. All right, so we're going to move into some Tesla news. We're not going to really spend a whole lot of time on each one of these because Tesla had their earnings call this week, and of course a lot of stuff came out with that, including an interesting announcement of Tesla wanting to offer vehicles with one price that includes car insurance and maintenance. And I think that is really something that is very interesting.
I love this because this potentially could shake up the entire industry, and I work with insurance companies every freaking day, and God, I cannot stand half of them.
Oh, it's a pain in the butt.
Oh, my goodness. It is a nightmare some of the time. And to know that, I could, just buy a car, get everything under one roof, and call it a day, sign me up. Because I do not want to deal with half the other stuff that comes with it.
If you've ever shopped for car insurance, you are always given a questionnaire. Hey, if it's, for example, a student driver, what's the student driver's grades? You can get a discount. What kind of daily routine do you have? Do you drive a long commute to work? You can get a discount.
How many miles?
What is your credit score? You can get a discount.
What neighborhoods do you live in?
You can get a discount, and yada, yada, yada.
You can also jack up your rates.
Exactly. It can either affect them drastically. And with Tesla having the option of self-driving autopilot cars, well, typically you would expect that to be a more safer version. So they know that, we know that there's a good chance that you're going to be using our autopilot, and we pretty much guarantee it's going to be much safer than you just driving by yourself. Your insurance rates do not need to be nearly as high. So that could be something that's very beneficial. One of the odd things about insurance companies, that when my mom passed away a couple years ago, it actually cost my dad $100 more to take her off the insurance policy.
I don't like that at all.
Even though she hadn't driven in multiple years prior to that, he just still kept her on in a case of an emergency where she would need to have to drive.
Yeah.
So it cost him more to insure two vehicles, well, three counting his classic car, with less drivers than it did with two drivers, where there would be more risk.
That sounds a little funny and toxic to me, but what do I know? I just work on cars for a living.
Right, so I don't see Tesla being more. I think they're going to be something that's more understanding.
They are going to upset the entire industry, and I love it.
Right.
Because they're all nice and cozy, and everything's going good, and we're making money, and then Tesla comes along like a freaking bolt of lightning, literally, and they're disrupting the entire industry. I freaking love this.
Right. That's what it needs, the insurance companies and stuff like that.
The auto industry is so slow to change. Everything is so slow.
They don't need to because the money's just pouring in.
Yeah. Everybody needs a car to get to work kind of thing. So it's like with the way electric cars are going, with the way Tesla just keeps getting bigger and better. I mean, This other story that we have, they're doubling their supercharge network. Currently, they have 2,636 superchargers at 373 locations across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. They're going to have twice that many by the end of 2017. And that's all due to Model 3 getting ready to launch.
Right, because it's a $30,000 vehicle. I think
going to be a
price.
Few more people at those locations.
Yeah, they can afford something that's a fourth of the price of a Model S.
And you know what I found fascinating? A friend of the show, Jeff Nauman, he was kind of talking about this a little bit and how he was kind of warming up to the idea of an electric car now. He's like, yeah, that would be really cool to just come home and plug my car in and not have to go to the gas station or anything. I'm like, that's what I've been trying to say, man. So,
but you'll still have to stop at a gas station to get some snacks and some drinks and stuff like that.
Well, you can stop by Walgreens.
That's
the
true.
Same. I mean, gas stations aren't going to go away.
No.
They will be charging stations. They won't. I mean, we may even still call them gas stations.
Right.
Kind of like. I'm trying to think of another example of something that's so old.
Amico. Phillips 66.
Oh, I mean, like technology-wise, we don't rewind things anymore.
Oh yeah, like video stores,
but
video rental stores.
When you go to click play on a video, that little symbol we've had that symbol for years. That little triangle, you know what I'm talking about.
That points to the right. That means play. Double triangle pointing to the left. That's rewind.
Yeah.
And the opposite for fast forward.
So I mean, I don't see them going away completely. There, obviously, there's going to be this transition period where there'll be kind of like a half gas station, half electric, and then eventually everything will just be electric, I hope.
Definitely with QT gas stations, for instance, the T could eventually start standing for Tesla because you could supercharge your Tesla at a QT gas station. And those are one of the nicest gas stations to just like stop in and
get food,
get snacks.
Shoot, I went there this morning,
right?
And I got a breakfast pizza, and it was amazing.
Yeah, I will drive a little bit out of the way to go to a QT as opposed to some older, sketchier looking gas station,
some podunk like middle of nowhere. I don't know what this is like.
Right.
Kinda, yeah,
a lot of it is because of the environment. It just seems like it's a more upbeat, bubbly kind of.
They take Android Pay. I'm there.
Yeah, they take all that stuff. I love it. Love it. Love it. Another thing Elon Musk said during the call was that he doesn't think that Tesla unionization is likely to occur. And as somebody that worked in United Auto Workers, Local 136 here in St. Louis, back when it was actually a thing because, well, now it's not here anymore. It's all gone. He said that he found that Tesla's factory actually had half the accident risk when compared to the rest of the automotive industry. And he also said that Tesla employees are the highest paid in the industry when you factor in equity compensation on top of a more direct earned revenue. I think that's kind of good because that's one of the reasons why some companies, the employees will unionize, was to try to help get higher pay, more benefits, stuff like that. When the company's just raking in all kinds of money, it's like, hey, we're the ones really making you this money because we're putting together the products that you're selling. We should be rewarded fairly.
So this was actually kind of a really big story last week, I believe, because of some guy claiming to be a Tesla employee and living in the Bay Area is really expensive. And when it turned out that this guy was sort of hired by a company to, in quotations, infiltrate Tesla and bring up all these concerns and get them all riled up. And
undercover boss.
You know, in some way, it's kind of like that. And as far as we know, that's sort of where this guy came from. I forget who hired him to shake things up and, you know, mess things up. But Elon's right. They're some of the safest factories because safety is his number one priority of human life. I mean, it makes sense. They are the highest paid because, well, we're building in America. So, again, American car company in America. I don't know if maybe our listeners have been following me on Instagram lately, but I've been kind of showing what happens when you buy an American car. You
Canadian stickers.
Canadian stickers, Korean stickers. Your parts are made elsewhere, I'm sorry to say. But
maybe assembled here, but it's not made
and
here.
It's not always assembled here. Sometimes it's assembled in Mexico and or Canada. So And the easiest way to tell that, actually, is the very first VIN number on your car. And 1 would be, assembled in America. A 2 is
or
Canada. And I believe 3 is Mexico. And then
I believe so.
4 is Japan, and so on and so on. They've got more numbers now than they have. But regardless, it's just worth noting that when you do, in quotations, buy American, you're not necessarily buying American. You might want to do your research and see where your car actually comes from.
Yeah, I really like this as somebody that spent nearly 15 years in the auto industry. I think it was really neat because Tesla is going to have differing hiring practices than, we'll just say, Chrysler or General Motors or Ford. They're not necessarily going to be more stringent, but it's not. I would compare it to Apple's not going to take the person that just passed their A+ exam to come work for Apple.
No.
They're going to take somebody
who has a portfolio built in.
Yeah, you're going to have to be vetted to come work at Tesla because they want the best people because they know their reputation is at stake. You represent the company, where companies like Chrysler, Ford, GM, not saying they don't care, but you're just a number when you work there.
Yeah.
Because they employ thousands upon thousands of people in factories all over the world. You are replaceable.
And potentially Tesla, in some aspects, will have factories all over the world themselves. This next story has Tesla is planning at least 3 more Gigafactory locations. So the Gigafactory itself is huge. We've talked about it on past episodes how huge it is. It's like the second largest building footprint wise in the world, only second to like some kind of aviation one, but 3 more. I know a community in Europe actually made a Gigafactory in Minecraft and explained in a video why they should build a Gigafactory in this city, in this region. And they're really close to an airport. They're really close to lithium mines. There's all these really good, fascinating reasons, and made it in a Minecraft video. And Elon is very much a geek, so I would think that something like that would get his attention. Yeah. And I found it really fascinating that they accomplished that.
Yeah, that would actually. I've kind of always said I would probably never get back into auto manufacturing again. I mean, I know there's good pay.
Right.
It's not necessarily the hardest work.
But it's still physically demanding.
It is. And if you've never worked in there, it's not where a lot of times whenever you're hearing about union negotiations and people going on strike and everybody's like, well, we can just get a monkey to replace you and do your job. No, trust me, it's totally, totally different. But while I would never go to GM or Ford, we've still got a GM plant here in the St. Louis area. And I could have went there. A lot of people that I used to work with, they went there. I was like, no, I left with my health. I don't want to take a chance with the repetitive motion injuries. But if I found out that Tesla was hiring to work in the Tesla factory to build any of their cars or their
solar panels,
I would consider that. Because, one, I like Tesla, the company.
Yes.
I like the things they stand for. And it is a true American company. That I would get back into.
Definitely, I'm right there with you. It's like how Apple and Microsoft really, and even Google, really take care of their employees, and the benefits are really good. And you would imagine that the same would be true for Tesla, especially if they really start to gain some momentum with the new Model 3 coming out. The fact that they now are going to produce solar panels, they're going to compound their interest from the public, and therefore, eventually they're going to overtake one of the, in quotations, big 3.
Speaking of the Model 3, production is supposed to start limited in July, ramping up to production of 5,000 vehicles per week in the fourth quarter of 2017, moving up to approximately 10,000 per week in 2018. So it's not going to be long, and you're going to start seeing a lot of Tesla 3s on the highways. The last thing, Tesla CFO Jason Wheeler is leaving, and former CFO Deepak Ahuja, Ahuja, is returning. So Deepak had retired back in 2015 after joining the company in 2010, just because it's time to retire. But now he's coming back. So we'll have to kind of see what goes from that, if anything really mainly comes from that. It's chief financial officer, so it deals with money and making sure the company is profitable and working and going very well. One last little thing here real quick that just caught my eye, and it was something I meant to put in there, was if you're looking for Snapchat spectacles, you can now buy them online in the United States for $130. You don't have to look for a Snapbot or whatever it is by going to the Snap website. And, where's the nearest bot? Can I order them? Well, now you can just kind of like order them online. $130, like 3 different colors are available, something like that. We'll have that link in the show notes as well. Time for app entertainment and hardware picks. I'm not sure if we got any hardware picks this week.
There'll be hardware picks eventually coming up soon.
Yeah, because Mobile World Congress, a lot of things getting ready to come out, and all that good stuff. But Halo Wars 2 is now available for all you Halo fans.
And it's an Xbox Play Anywhere title, which means if you buy it on the Windows Store or you buy it on your Xbox, you get it for the opposite corresponding platform. So you can play on your Xbox and then skip over to your PC and pick up where you left off from, and vice versa.
It's like your progress moves with you?
Yes, it is one of the unsung heroes that everyone forgets about. At first, it was kind of... there was a little pushback from the community because they felt they were missing out on those exclusivities. I kind of disagree with that. Actually, strongly disagree with that. And I think this makes the platform stronger. And especially, kind of roping in the PC and the Xbox One as the same platform, it opens up a lot of potential things for their games.
Right. So available for $59.99, or you can get the Ultimate Edition for $79.99.
I would imagine that includes all the DLC or something like that.
Yeah, you definitely get a bunch of bonuses with the Ultimate Edition. Let's see. So in that bundle, you get Halo Wars 2. You also get Halo Wars Definitive Edition. You also get Halo Wars 2 Welcome to the Ark. And the Halo Wars 2 Season Pass, which is a $30 value right there. So for $20 more, you get the Season Pass and save $10.
Oh, that's right. So you get the original Halo Wars with that. So that's actually a pretty good bundle.
The Definitive Edition, not just Halo Wars.
And beyond that, like you said, the Season Pass, which is $30 by itself, you get a free game essentially in with it, and that's pretty cool.
All right, which the Season Pass is going to have regular updates spanning more than 6 months, including new leaders with abilities that change the course of multiplayer matches, new units that add to your multiplayer arsenal, new blitz cards to collect and take in a battle, and new campaign missions that expand the Halo Wars 2 story.
I am terrible at RTSs, so I probably will not be getting this. I'm very, very terrible at RTSs.
Unless you get a good deal and you're like, okay, yeah, I can't pass it up for this price.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And you're like, all right, maybe it's time to get good at an RTS.
So I would say most of you know me as a big Xbox guy, but this...
What?
Yeah, imagine that. Huh. But this week on PlayStation, Horizon Zero Dawn launches. And this game I have really other than... No Man's Sky. I've really been looking forward to Horizon Zero Dawn. The difference being Horizon Zero Dawn is actually a really, really good game. It's been scoring very well, and from what I have seen and heard, it's just an all-around great game. It's almost a mixtape of different games kind of pushed together to make one awesome game. You're sort of this hunter in the kind of future, and you're trying to figure out what happened to your tribe. And yes, I say future and tribe all in the same sentence because there are big robot dinosaur animal things.
Kind of reminds me of Shadow of the Colossus.
That is a definitely...
It's what this visual look kind of reminds me of is that game where the whole point is you had to try to figure out how to beat the Colossus, which is essentially the level boss. But you have to fight your way through climbing up to figure out how to defeat it.
Yeah, and it's very much an RPG, an open world RPG, because you get different weapons as you progress, and you can like tie monsters down to use different weapons to defeat them different ways, and it is really, really fascinating. And it's funny too, because a lot of the creatures you might recognize in the actual real world, you know, animals that may appear like, oh, hey, it's that animal. He's probably really slow. And then you realize, oh, wait, these are robots. Those rules don't apply.
Right. So if you see a turtle in this game, don't think you can just easily run away from it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so this game actually comes out on
Tuesday,
February 27th.
Yes.
So it comes out very, very soon, 27th or 28th.
Maybe that's a Monday.
And there is a regular version, of course, for $60. And then there, of course, in today's day and age, there is a somewhat ultimate edition, the Digital Deluxe Edition, they call it. And with this, you get, obviously, the Horizon Zero Dawn. You get the Art of Horizon Zero Dawn digital art book, an exclusive PlayStation 4 theme, Karja Storm Ranger outfit and Mighty Bow, a Banuk, Trailblazer outfit and Culling Bow, a Banuk Traveler pack, Karja Trader pack, Nora Keeper pack. And if I'm pronouncing those wrong, please let me know, because I've never played this game, so I don't know if that's the correct pronunciation. But everything kind of looks like it would be fun. It looks very interesting.
Yeah, it's sort of like Tomb Raider meets Shadow of the Colossus meets The Witcher 3 and so on and so on. And it's a mixtape of great games turned into one really good game.
I'll tell you what, I cannot wait till you get your PlayStation 4, get this, and I'll come over and watch you play it.
Sounds good. Except I'm definitely thinking I should get a Pro.
At this point, you might as well.
Yeah, because then I'll be future-proofed a little.
Okay.
I hope. Yeah, keep telling yourself that.
Exactly. Well, I would probably, myself, knowing my game availability, I'd probably just get the standard PS4. But then again, you'd have to try to find a regular one now.
That's true. All the Slims sort of took that over.
Right. And you don't like the look of the Slim, so.
It's so ugly. I would really like an original white one.
Mm-hmm.
That would look great next to my PC.
Yeah, that is very true. Speaking of PC, Windows 10 PC and mobile users have been enjoying a YouTube client replacement, kind of a third party, for years. And now Xbox One owners will get to use MyTube.
Yeah, for those of us who are familiar with Windows Phone, we absolutely know what MyTube is, and it is a fantastic YouTube app. And it's about freaking time that we get a fantastic YouTube app on Xbox, because good Lord, is that a terrible, terrible app. I think Google makes it.
It's the official Google one, yes.
It is terrible. It is god-awful. I'm trying to think what could be worse.
It's like, why would they even have it if it's that bad?
Well, it's because there are a few million Xboxes out there. I mean, but again, you would think they would make their app a little bit better.
Yeah, you would think.
But hey, if MyTube solves all of it, I don't care.
Right. So right now, MyTube is still in beta. It will disable ads by default, and according to Daniel Rubino and other people at Windows Central, it's far faster than regular YouTube.
Oh, thank God.
And lets you manually set the visual quality of a video. And as a fully featured app, it will also allow users to browse and submit comments, share video from their phones and PCs and vice versa, and eventually download video to play offline. So
that all sounds amazing.
So if you're using MyTube on your Windows PC and with the Windows app, you're going to get a very similar experience, I would imagine. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty great.
And speaking of Xbox, the March's games with gold are announced. And the first game is Layers of Fear, which I actually wrote about a little bit last year when I was doing the indie titles. And it'll be available all month long, so March 1st to 31st on Xbox One. Evolve Ultimate Edition will be available from March 16th to April 15th, so there's that half-month, all-month kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I have Evolve the regular edition, so I would imagine I kind of will just upgrade for free and get the extra stuff, so that's kind of cool. Borderlands 2 is now going to be a backwards compatible game, which that is a fantastic game.
So I think Borderlands 1 was already available, and I think I already got
Yes,
that.
it was one of the first, actually it was the first title they got working on backwards compatibility. But it will be available from March 1st to March 15th, and that's an Xbox 360 game that is now backwards compatible on Xbox One. And the last game I'm not completely familiar with, but it's called Heavy Weapon. It'll be available from March 16th to the 31st. And that is also a 360 title, backwards compatible.
All right. So again, if any of these titles interest you, just grab them. You don't have to install them right away. Just go ahead and just get them.
I definitely want to check out Layers of Fear. I want to have Borderlands 2 just to have it in digital form because I have the disc. But it'd be great to have the digital form.
Yeah, to just not have to worry about getting up. Just go over just on your controller.
And now that Evolve is going to be free, I would imagine that community might jump a little bit, and there might be a big player base now. So now would be the time to go play it as soon as March 16th rolls around. So I might jump back in and check that out and kind of learn a little bit.
Sounds fun. Looking forward to at least grabbing these games to possibly install and check out at a later time. All right, it's time for Brad's beer pick of the week.
So this week, it is Lava Lake Wit by Crazy Mountain Brewing Company, and it has got a funny little photo of a fox on the front of it with, like, kind of wearing a bra or something. I don't know. It's real strange, but it is a wit beer, which is a type of wheat beer. I don't specifically remember the difference between this and a Hefeweizen, but they're similar. This one, for me, it doesn't have quite as high ratings as what I gave it. I think I gave it a solid 4. But it was citrusy, but it had kind of a spice to it. And I don't mean like a hot spice, but a very flavorful spice to it. And it kind of took me by surprise because I wasn't expecting a bunch, but got more than what I initially anticipated when I first tasted it. So very kind of sleeper hit, I guess. But yeah, it was really good, and I definitely suggest maybe going out and finding it.
So 5.2 ABV, 15 IBU.
Yeah, so very, very low on the hop scale, and the International Bitter Unit, rather.
And 3.2 aggregate rating out of 5. So, like you said, you gave it, I believe, a 4.
Mm-hmm.
So you were above the aggregate, what everybody else kind of thought. The overall average.
Well, and typically, I don't think a lot of people really like wit beers.
Yeah.
You have your hopheads, and they love IPAs, and you have your stout guys like me, and they just absolutely love every single stout they have. I don't know, but it's worth maybe jumping outside your comfort zone and trying a different style occasionally.
Yeah, and again, with Lava Lake Wit being Crazy Mountain Brewing Company, one of the great things about Untappd is if you have an account, you can just click on, hey, find this, and see how if there's any near you, and you can go check it out.
Yeah. And by the way, the new Untappd app is quite fast. It works really good, and I really like all the implementations that they've put in. And by that, I mean you can even get down to, I had this beer on tap versus a bottle or other ways, growlers, and it gets really down to the nitty-gritty of how you've had that beer and what it looked like and what it tastes like, and it's cool.
I do like it. The limited that I've spent with it, I think it's pretty nice. I think, again, they did a really fantastic job with it. All right, so that does it for this week's episode of Tech Informist. Again, this is episode 166, I believe.
Yep.
We'd love to know your feedback, so go ahead and send that in. Contact at thetechinformist.com via email. You can leave an audio voice message at 314-529-1998. Again, 314-529-1998. And you can also hit us up on Twitter, either at Tech Informist or at Kevin Harvell or at Holy_Shadows. And don't forget, next Friday, that's Switch Day.
Yep.
So, obviously, there's a lot of videos. There's a lot of news coming out about Zelda Breath of Fire.
Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild. So, I'm going to do that forever. And I'm hearing a lot of good things about the game from the IGN people and other people that are getting the review units and stuff like that.
I can't wait to read all the reviews.
So I'm trying to just stay away from all that stuff just because I would love to get a chance to get some hands-on with it myself to form my own opinion.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Obviously, there's a lot of unboxing videos and all like that.
Well, I have never played a Zelda game, so I don't know that my opinion would count very much, but I would say that besides Wind Waker, this really stands out to me as a Zelda
It's definitely
game.
got your attention where you're like, how about that?
Yeah.
Looks good. So anyway, we definitely have one friend of the show that has got one on pre-order, so...
Yep. And we'll be and he's off that day.
So he took that Friday off.
I believe so, and I also believe other friend of the show, Jeff, is off. Oh, we're all going to be off on next Friday, so...
Yeah, how about that? So it could be a very, very, very interesting day.
Yep.
All right, so that might be another time that we may need to record on a Saturday to kind of get a chance to kind of like see gameplay.
Depends how this week goes. So if for those of you who don't know, I had to take over for a coworker because they got in a little accident. They're kind of unable to work right now. So I've been working kind of my job and his job. So it's been a little challenging to get anything done or get any sleep at all. So I apologize if I'm short with anybody or anything of that nature.
Yeah, hence why no Destructoid articles this week.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing he posted multiple last week.
Yep.
All right. That's it, guys. We've kept you long enough. Thank you so much for listening to this point. And until next time, consider yourself informed. You're gone.
Bye-bye.